когда начинал все вот в ММА именно, у меня была цель не стать там чемпионом UFC. Представлять нашу республику, нашу страну, это то, за что я дерусь.
When Khabib was the new Comer contender, even champion, there was this one dude always next then. This guy was constantly there in the corner during his UFC debut and shoulder to shoulder with him when had been faced Conor McGregor in the biggest UFC fight ever. This guy was the one who Match had been training. This guy was Abdomen UPS favorite students.
Islam was my father's favorite student.
This guy was the next in line after he was done with the sport.
I really believe he's gonna become champion. Why I talk about Islam? Because this is my father's legacy.
Eventually, as promised, the guy became champions, but it was not good enough at every step. He was compared to how beat himself and his own rise at the top of the division coincided with a few others. Suddenly, he didn't just have to live up to the reputation of Khabib's greatness. He had his own battles to take care of.
I ain't tapping, I ain't going to sleep, I'm getting out and I'm putting hands on him, and that's that.
A small crack in the invincible aura was celebrated as the greatest triumph for some others, but UFC 294 reinstated Islam as the dominant force he always was.
Good shot by Martins. It is all over.
I've entered the UFC as an undefeated Dagestani, much like Khabib, but he wasn't able to keep that zero intact with his second fight ending in a knockout loss. That definitely put a stop to the whole Khabib 2.0 prophecy, but Islam was quick to regroup, and he kept on winning against people outside the top 10. A dangerous wrestler with little name value, and outside the ranking, a lot of top lightweights dismissed Islam, but the guy himself knew he had to wait because his best friend hubby was at the top of the division champion and one of the best fighters in the world.
You want to be number one contender, yeah? You want to be champion? You need to fight Habib for the belt. Will you fight Habib?
If I need belt, I go Habib's on. Take belt.
Not willing to fight Khabib and the top lightweights not willing to fight him. Islam was left to deal with lowly contenders building up a paper-thin resume.
155 pounds, which is the hardest division in MMA. If Islam Makhachev can beat them or not, or if he's better or not, is not the conversation for right now. He has to get on the docket with.
Islam was told that his time would come, and while they did, it was not as glorious as anticipated. After the sudden retirement of Heavy, but UFC 254, there was a void as the Library Championship was vacated. But Charles Oliveira, a fan favorite, won the belt at UFC 262. Fans were quick to push him as the next dominant champion.
I mean, the whole thing was just frenetic. It was amazing to watch. It was amazing to see from beginning to end. The second round was just a crazy, crazy finish.
Meanwhile, Islam, who was often talked about as the next champion, didn't seem good enough to beat Charles.
Behind it, like Charles Oliveira, and he starts to win and dominate the class like he has. Yeah, man, it'll be nice to see him fight Habib, right? What better way to try to draw him back in than by having Oliveira beat his friend, training partner, and longtime
the Khabib, but this regressed version of the ego had nothing for Du Bronx.
Charles Oliveira coach say, okay, come to Brazil, fight, no problem, send us location, we're gonna come to Brazil, Islam gonna ride Charles Oliveira like his horse, we're gonna take this belt, we're gonna show them if Sambo was easy, it would be called Jiu-Jitsu, and we're gonna go home.
He's dominant on top, he was positionally dominant.
This is who Makhachev is. He's been able to dominate these guys with one facet of his mixed martial arts game.
I told you, Islam gonna take him to the deep ocean and make him tough. I told you, Islam on another level.
Took the Dagestani Protege 2 rounds to finish Oliveira, and on that night, he proved to everyone he was good enough to be Khabib's successor. But this newfound respect lasted a grand total of 5 minutes. Because right after the trolls, when Islam called out the pound-for-pound King Alexander Volkanovski.
Now is our plan, fly all the way to Australia and fight in pound-for-pound King backyard with Volkanovski.
Got ourselves a champion versus champion rivalry. Islam Hosia was supposed to slaughter the smaller fighter, even if he was a champion. But in Perth, we were back to square one. Volk lost the fight, but he was hailed as a victor.
He won.
Yeah, he won.
Volkanovski is the winner.
Volkanovski is the fucking double champ. 100%.
who was awarded a unanimous decision, was labeled a loser.
It was very close. Did we really, settle it?
How could you call yourself the lightweight champion when a featherweight ended the fight smashing your face into the canvas? Selective memory struck again. And nobody remembered the first 4 rounds where the two champions put on a striking clinic, with Islam lending the better strikes for the majority of the fight. The deafening visual from the event was round 5, and that was all that matters. It finally happened. Islam was pushed to the limits and looked human.
I beat him in unanimous decision. It was good experience for me. Last round he landed its good shot, good punch, but all other rounds, in my opinion, I win.
Took a pound-for-pound great, a literal freak athlete with fearless technique to give him trouble. And he still ended up winning, dehydrated, hostile crowd, unfamiliar territory, and all. But now that fight, even if it was a victory, loomed over Islam as the company struggled to find the next contender at 155.
What names stick out to you as potential next challengers?
I don't hate the rematch. I really don't.
On the other hand, Volk returned to the octagon months after UFC 284 Hulk smashing Ye, Rodriguez, and notching another defense of his featherweight belt.
I don't believe anyone can beat me, but everyone has a puncher's chance. Everyone can catch you.
Again, I've got a lot of respect for Islam. He is a great fighter, very good. That's why I believe he's going to be champion for a while if I don't fight him.
The pressure doubled from HF as he had to put on a similarly impressive performance in his next title fight, which was scheduled to be a rematch against Charles Oliveira. The champion versus champion. The match, however, was destined to happen all the very with the Jew, with a bad cut in sparring, and the supposed nightmare of Islam bloke had no problem stepping in on short notice. This time around, the fight was in Abu Dhabi, Islamic backyard, but crowd support wasn't going to do jack shit for the guy. Volkanovski had enough skill and strength to survive on the ground and the striking. It was a lose-lose situation for Islam. He had his belt on the line, the first fight haunting him, and absolutely everything to lose.
What he put? Nothing. He just come to make money. I put my win streak, I put my belt.
Another decision victory, and his greatest rival would be a 35-year-old featherweight to truly set it all right. Islam had no choice but to finish the most impressive fighter on the planet in Alexander Volkanovski.
But this fight, everything is gonna change. I want to finish him and finish all this talk about it.
After all, that is something his successor would be expected to do. Islam walked to the octagon at UFC 294 with another chip on his shoulder. He had to prove himself at UFC 280 against the Bronx, and he did so in 2 rounds after birth to, like WWE champion, was on a mission and how to make a statement.
Tomorrow I will show you best performance. Thank you. Thank you all of you guys, because I know you all support me. Thanks so much.
This was not going to become a robbery knots on his watch. Maybe the hydration talk was for real, because Islam seemed to adapt quicker and he did not allow Volk to settle in. The obvious game plan was to employ a grappling-heavy attack and tire the featherweight champion for late submission. But Islam, who was actually a pretty good striker, kept the challenger on edge with kicks to the body. At the end, it was a kick to the head that ended the fight. Just like that, UFC 284 was a distant memory, and between UFC 284 and UFC 294, we have forgotten, but the champion wasn't just some best buddy of Khabib. His name was Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev is well on his way to securing his own legacy as one of the greatest lightweight in history.
I never choose Dana. You have some job. Give me someone.
You have to feel a little sorry for Islam early on. Having to live up to Khabib's reputation is a tall task. Right alongside him, you have Charles Killer and Volkanovski, a savant. But in 1 calendar year, Islam has submitted the guy with the most finishes in UFC history, and he knocked out the longest reigning champion. There will never be another Khabib. We all knew this, and it's finally accepted. But at the same time, for UFC 294, the year he has had, there will never be another Islam Makhachev of either. Leave a comment down below and consider subscribing. Peach out.